Welcome back, ladies and gents, to another wonderful episode. Well, we're back on this '08 Sportster again, and it is now cleanup time. First step, we got to get this thing outside and see if we can at least hose it down, clean it up some, and from there, we're going to get it back in and start kind of the long cleanup and restore process. But let's get started on it and see what all we can get done. So for spraying the bike off, I'm just going to use some of this Simple Green. I always use that. There are better degreasers than this. I know Super Clean makes some others. I use Simple Green because number one, it's what I've got. And number two, it's never hurt any surfaces. So I want to keep using it, but try whatever works for you. And yes, I get very crazy with it. I will cover this thing. Again, it just depends on what works for you. And usually what I do, guys, is I use this just to get the surface junk off, and we will be scrubbing every part of this bike by hand. So this won't be a spray on, wash off type deal. There's going to be a lot more work than this. Probably about to do it, I think. That turned out about as I expected. Motor actually came out pretty good. We still got to do a lot of cleaning and polishing on that. Really make it look good. Transmission area back here cleaned up pretty decent. Even the sprocket looks pretty good there on the transmission. Still got a lot of grime though. A lot of grime up there, but we'll get to that manually when we just start to hand clean everything. But it's a start. Looks pretty good. But first, before we start all the cleaning, I want to start removing this up here. So we're going to pull all this plastic mess off. Go ahead and get all these connectors off and these wires. That way I'm thinking we can remove the speedometer and also the headlight and hopefully these switch housings. I don't know what all is plugged in here. So we're going to get to that right now. And that way we can really get to this motor top right here very well and get to this frame. So we're going to start with this side over here for this wiring. It looks like all this is just a piece of plastic. Well, it's obviously a piece of plastic. But it looks like I can just remove this little Allen bolt right here, and this will just fold out. And my guess is all these little plugs are just zip tied in. I'm hoping we can just get rid of a lot of this. Then we'll get to the other side. Other side looks a little bit more difficult. At least that's what I think. Also, I took pictures of this. If you do this kind of stuff, I know there's shop manuals, but take pictures. Use your phone. It makes it really easy. Let's see what we get here. Let's see what's behind door number 1. My guess is I'm going to win a bunch of wires. Well, that's a rusty little bolt. Oh yeah, here we go. Yes. But we're going to have to remove that to get to it, unfortunately. So let's try to see. Yeah, just a lot of, you can kind of see it in there. Just a lot of wires and harnesses and all that goodness. So we'll reposition the camera. I'm going to get this removed, and I want to go ahead and just start removing anything that we don't need on here to help clean this up. Like for example, right here, that looks like that's our plug for our Speedo. So we can probably go ahead and just get that removed. So that would be cool. So let's go ahead and start seeing what all we can remove to clean this up. Okay, we're going to go ahead and just loosen this, well, remove this side completely on this headlight. If it'll loosen, there we go. We should be able to swing that out and at least get these speedo wires out of the way. I can also tell just by looking real quick, somebody has been in here and messed with these connectors. So that's good, I guess. I don't know, maybe. I'll show you here in just a minute. All this for wires. If that works. There we go. I think. Oh no, it won't rotate enough. Okay, I actually did get that wire for the speedo just kind of pulled through there. It fit no problem, so we'll remove the headlight in a moment. Here's what I noticed. So if you look at this right here and get something to point at it with, you'll see there's a zip tie on here going lengthwise, 2 zip ties actually, and you can tell right in here where the clip was broken. So somebody has had this speedometer off of this bike and they broke the clip. Now I definitely approve of the zip tie to hold that in because there is no way I would replace that. So we're going to cut this. My theory is this should just undo, I think. And then hopefully we can get this speedo off, and I will definitely be zip tying it back. See if this just yeah, it's just coming out. See, there was no, honestly, you probably could have just left it there. Just the pressure of the wires holding it together would have been fine, but I approve of the zip tie. We will redo that. This should, emphasis on should, come right off. Well, if I could get that to loosen. You ever take fasteners off a bike or a car or anything and everything is just rough? Like it feels corroded, rusted, nasty. Everything on this bike is like that. Nothing has been, I don't think much has been done right on this thing. This just feels awful. Goodness gracious. There. All right, this should come right on out. There we go. There we go. Speedometer. We got our cable undone. Good, that's one thing out of the way. So I think we can get most of these wires removed without having to pull this bracket yet for the ignition. Up here, I'm gonna go ahead and get the signals out of the way. You can see this loveliness right here. So whoever cut these, zip tied them right here, which is fine. And they actually had a wire nut. The wire nuts have all fallen off. They had the signal wires twisted to each other, the left and the right, with a wire nut. I mean, I suppose that's one way to cap them off. And the other thing is, here's the connector for the signal. So what we want to do is we want to remove this connector completely. We don't want all these wires kind of hogging up valuable space, but I don't want to just cut it. I want to try to go ahead and remove these signal wires first, which I should be able to just pull them through. And then the rest, I want to trace it all the way back through here later on another day and try to pull every bit of this out, because this harness could be reused for something. And plus these wires are pretty valuable. And when I say valuable wires, I mean, I don't like to go buy stuff. So why not reuse? Get this out of the way. I don't want to cut anything I shouldn't, which I have done before. There we go. This should come right on out, as it did. Perfect. And let's see if this bundle of fun will disconnect. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. Good. And we can, again, save this stuff, guys. If you take this off your bikes, don't throw it out. You can reuse this stuff. It's good. Making progress. We got this headlight connector already undone right here. I'm thinking, of course, headlight's only got a few wires. I'm thinking once we get this one through, I'm hopeful we can get the rest of this stuff without removing. I'm trying to wait on the coil and the ignition. Oh, that came out easy. Just because I don't want to have too big of a mess on my hands. Should come right off with ease. Oh, perfect. You can see not much going on here. You remove it. It allows you to really get up in here, do any cleaning you want to do. We can also polish this up. And of course, a simple disconnect. Onto these switch housings. This will be the left side first. You can see it's just kind of dangling down. There is a lot of wires in these. And these, what I'm going to do is, I do want to get rid of this plastic somehow. Well, I want to get rid of the plastic. I don't know for sure yet, so I don't want to just start ripping anything off of this. There. So now, can I get this out without having to pull this bracket off? I don't know. This is actually a pretty tight fit right here. Will it go? There we go. Look at that. Look at that. All removed. Got our Speedo one right here. Got that one. And we got this other side. Let's see if I can just go ahead and get this off. Oh, perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. And they're actually color coordinated. That makes it easy for somebody like me. And the other side. Same thing. Nothing groundbreaking. So now we've got a lot of empty space in there. So now we're starting to get somewhere. There it is. Goodness. See, all that is just a way to house those plugs is all. I mean, I guess it's kind of creative in a way, but we're going to figure something out. For this side over here, we're going to take a chance and just go ahead and remove all these zip ties and see if this will come off. We do have a connector right here for this fuel injection line. We'll have to figure that out. And then this does go up behind this, but hopefully we can just get this removed. Now, I can get a hold of them. There's two of them. This should have one big giant loom behind it. Yeah, it does. But I definitely want to get this out of here. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and drop this. Should honestly just drop down, hopefully. I'll tell you what, I got zip tie pieces all over the garage. There, now it's dropped down, so that should help me out here. There we go. Now we got it separated. Okay. Boy, that's a lot of freaking wires. Actually, it's not as bad as I thought, though. Because if you look down in here, you've got all these coming off, but I've got some wire loom stuff that I can get this stuff much tighter. I think so. So now we just need to get this fuel injection line disconnected, and we're going to be in business. So I'm going to get that taken care of off camera real quick, because it's probably going to take me a while, and then we're going to go ahead and pull this out completely. Well, we got all our plastic out of there. I actually put these two pieces together. You can see, I could orient it right. All it is just a big giant cover, essentially. And when I look at these wires, I'm not as afraid as I was before, because this is going to be relocated, hopefully. And then I've got plenty of stuff I can loom this up with. And when you combine that with lifting this gas tank some, I think we're going to be good. I think we can figure something out. So, shockingly, I'm not as nervous as I was. There we go. All right, yeah. And what's cool is this wire is already separated, so this is going to be pretty easy to relocate. I will probably, I don't know, I might actually shorten this a little so we don't have a bunch of excess wire folded up in here, but that'll definitely have to be a good solder and heat shrink for that. What a mess. And remember, this is going to be relocated, hopefully. I just need to disconnect this. Oh, how does that work? That thing looks like it needs surgery or something. There, perfect. Oh, that's a pretty good size connector. Good. I've already got my plugs. And I forgot, I'm going to have to get some different spark plug wires since I'm relocating. That's okay, though. Well, come on, get out of there. There we go. All pulled out. And you can see now we got lots of space in there. Well, I would say that turned out pretty good. You can see we got everything cleaned up here. That headlight gone really makes a difference, and that speedo. We can clean up these triple trees and make them look. We're going to polish those up good. This is all nice and wide open. You can see we got this connector right here is for the coil. We will pull this out of the loom and reroute it through there. Same with our ignition switch up in here. It's actually hanging from a zip tie. So those will be rerouted. Where is it at? I can't find it. Here it is. The switch. The turn signals. So the turn signal connector is unfortunately going all the way down this loom, and there's no way I'm going to cut into that just to remove these. It would be an absolute mess. So I'm probably just going to cut this one here so that way we can reuse this for something in the future if needed. A lot of times I'll de-pin these, but let's be honest, nobody's going to go in and rerun these. And if they do, the wires will be underneath here and they can do that. So it's not a big deal. Personally, I'm not really as nervous about hiding these as I was. The difficult part's going to be the connectors, but I do think between moving the switch and the coil here and lifting the tank, I think that's going to give us some space under here. But what I want to do is take the tank and mock it up and just do a lot of scenarios of not lifting the tank, lifting the tank an inch, lifting the tank 2 inches, whatever it does, whatever I need to do to see if I can hide these connectors. And then the connectors themselves, I can actually run the same loom material I've got all the way over the connectors whenever they're done. Yes, it's going to make them hard to get to, but you're talking about some really cheap stuff that I could reroute if I had to tear into them. But overall, I'm pretty happy with that. So next steps, clean time. We're going to start back here, work our way up, and just let the elbow grease part begin. That's really the next thing. I don't think I'm going to strip this thing down anymore. I thought about removing this back plate, but honestly, I just don't like removing this kind of stuff unless I have to because stuff can strip. So we're going to leave this as is. I will pull these bolts out to at least just clean them up really good. But we will deal with that later. But unfortunately, it's going to be a couple of days till I get back to this. So we will catch you guys at that time. We are back, and it is now time to start the elbow grease or cleaning part of this bike. So as you can see, you just take a seat and get busy on it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually start on this rear section first and work my way forward. Ideally, I guess if you really wanted to quote unquote restore a bike, you would pull the entire drivetrain out. I get that, but this is the kind of stuff that most anybody can do. You saw we use just basic tools to get it to this point. And once you get to here, you can really kind of do some damage on it. So all I'm using, same old cleaner I washed it with, Simple Green. I'm sure you can use all kinds of different cleaners. And then I just use rags. And then I've got this brush. I think this brush was actually for a cogs on a bicycle. It works pretty good. Anything. You could use a toothbrush. You could use anything. And I use one rag to get some of the gunk off, like that's up in here, just all the grease. And then what I want to do is just get it as stripped down as I can. And then I will actually come through on all the black parts on the frame and I will repolish it. Also, we're going to remove stuff. So like here, go ahead and get this out of the way. Just get these bolts out of here. And these bolts, we are going to polish these up. And I will show you guys that here in a moment. We'll show some examples, probably for these fender bolts right here. Do you have to do it? No, but it really makes it look a lot better, and I'll show you. A lot of people will go out and just buy new bolts that are chrome. I don't like to do that, and I'll explain why later. Those out of the way. Get this. Boy, this thing is gross. It's an axle adjuster. I'll take that right there. I'm going to go ahead and just spray this down a little bit. Let that sit for a while. You don't have to make the axle adjuster look good, but I like to have the bolt coming out looking pretty decent. And then all I do is just, don't be shy, get some cleaner on it. Just start wiping away, get all this junk. And of course, as I like to say, cardboard is your friend. Put it down. It helps a lot. And when you do this, just be prepared to throw rags out. It's amazing just what a little bit of elbow grease can do. This spot right here being a little bit of a bear. And there's nothing difficult about this. It's just getting to work. Is this all necessary? No, it's not. But it really makes a difference. And you find these old bikes like this that have either been sitting for months or years or just neglected like this one has been. And you'd be amazed how much better it'll look. So something like this, for example, for the swing arm, this mount, this giant bolt, that's cleaned up pretty good. You can see it already looks much better. What I will probably do, not probably, I know I will, is when I go back to polish, I will actually, believe it or not, you can polish these bolts up. A lot of people don't realize that. They want to go get caps and covers and all that and doodads to bolt on stuff. But you can actually take these bolts, these bolt heads on all this stuff, clean them up and polish them, and it just makes the whole bike just look clean and neat. Boy, that's gross. Pretty dirty. All right, I'll show you guys something here real quick. So for example, like down here where there's just oil everywhere, you can see I've already wiped a lot of that. Something as simple as just pulling this pin out, which I already pulled the clip out for the rear brake. It just kind of allows you, and then you can move the lever now up here without messing with your brake. And it just lets you just kind of, get the bulk of all this stuff out. You're not going to get all of it unless you remove it completely. But it sure helps. Again, we got to get to this section up here a little bit more. And you can see up here up top, we've got this cleaned up pretty good. So all done with household cleaners. Are there better ways? I am sure there are. Move up here to the top a little bit. This should go pretty smooth. Actually, I think the washing it off got most of this up here. Then we got a exposed wire. I just saw that. It's been cut. I mean, what in the world is all this? Good grief. I don't even know what that goes to. I will just mash that back in there for now. I'll probably cut that off. Everything works, so who knows? Don't be shy with a cleaner. On this side, we are going to get this shock out of the way. One shock out of the way. And nothing groundbreaking up here. Just rinse and repeat on this side like we did on the other. One suggestion, if you're working on one of these, and if your oil lines are extremely old, if you've got some leaks or they look dry rotted, anything like that, may not be a bad idea to drain the oil and remove the tank completely. And when you remove this tank, you'll be able to get all this freed up. Now, it's a lot of work, but replacing oil lines is not difficult. Just go buy you 5 to 10 feet of the right oil line. Make sure it's rated for oil. Don't get junk. And then just put new lines on it. Ooh, that's nasty. To me, it's almost like somebody took a quart of oil and just poured it down this section of the bike and then just let it kind of cook for 5 or 6 years. Does that just come off? So technically, that is just a cover. Oh, sweet. I can clean that up. Technically, I could pop this reservoir off. Maybe. Get to it a little better. Let's get this cleaner rag on it. I don't think so. I think it can stay on. Come on, get off there. Get off there. There you go. This is going to be difficult. Pretty good. Whatever you do, don't let the caliper just hang or dangle on the line. There we go. That looks a lot better. So a trick I want to share with these bolts, this is what I like to do. Now, what I'm doing is I'm basically cleaning them up as best as possible, and then we're going to put some polish on them. That may seem like overkill, but if you think about it, a lot of folks will go in and they'll replace these with chrome Allen bolts, and you can do that, but it gets pricey. Of course, then once you start putting the Allen socket and all that, you can get rust in them and all that, or they'll put the covers on it. But here's a little trick that I do. So, like for example, this is for the fenders, and then of course these are the shock bolts right here that show up. Now this is a newer bike, so these are in pretty good shape. So what I'll do is I'll take some, you can take some steel wool, I'll start with that. You can also use a Scotch pad or scour pad or whatever. This is just a piece of it. And by the way, I use this same stuff on the wheels, and we'll get to that later in the process. But I'll take this same old cleaner. You can use just about anything. You just start going to town with them. That's all you're doing. But now, just like that, get a rag here. So now we've got a very clean bolt head. I can show that on camera. And it's not a whole lot better than the other one, but it definitely shows in person. But we're going to take it a step further. So you do that to get the grime off. And by the way, I've done this on bolts that are just absolutely covered. So these were already pretty clean. Let's see if I can find some examples. Most of these are in pretty good shape, so they're going to be about the same. What we'll do next is then we'll take just some of our mothers. I just use this mag and aluminum polish. I use the same thing on rocker boxes, primary covers, cam chest covers, you name it, anything that can be polished up. Take some of this. And yes, this does take time. I'll take some of this polish. I don't know how well this is going to show up on camera, but it definitely looks better in person. Oh yes, much better. So now what you've got, I get the other one. This one's pretty shiny. I don't know if it shows pretty good. Whereas this one was just, it was still pretty clean. See that one right there? Here, maybe I can just get both of them side by side. So the one on the left is the cleaner one. So not a huge improvement on these just because they were already pretty clean, but you can imagine if you just had something that was just pitted and all that, the steel wool or the scour pad will take that off and you can polish it. So again, that way whenever you're looking at the bike, you see nice clean bolts. Here, let me do this one. So this is one of the shock bolts. It's not corroded, but it's just got some dirt on it. Again, these are good bolts, folks. Don't just throw them out. Like this. Again, you can use the scour pad, sometimes depending on how bad they are. Now, you can take the wire wheel to these. You can take it and get little bits, put them in your impact or put them on a grinder, but I use the wire wheel if I have to. I stay away from it usually because it scratches it up so bad. It just doesn't look natural to me. Because fasteners, I don't know if anybody has checked prices on fasteners lately, but my Lord, they're expensive. No way I'm going to go pay money for some kind of a dress-up kit just for my freaking bolts. All right. Yeah, this one came out pretty good. You can see it's shining up pretty good. This one actually almost looks like chrome. Again, may not show on the camera, but it's definitely better. Or as I like to say, I don't know if I fixed it, but it's definitely different. There we go. Boy, that's going to look great on that shock, that mount. And see, you don't have to go spend any money. You can just use what you got. Now, if these are wallered out, if these are stripped out, then yeah, you probably want to replace them. But these bolts are still in outstanding shape. So we're going to get the rest of them done, throw them on the bike, and then we'll kind of show you guys a walk around what they look like. Well, the rear section turned out pretty good. Just looking at it here from a distance, you can see we're not even polished up yet on the paint or the powder coat. And it turned out fantastic, I do believe. You can really tell where this bike is a little newer. Look at those bolts. Man, they look good. So we got this all cleaned up, all that squared away. That's good. All the way down here on these frame tubes. We did get down here. We started on this, as you saw on film earlier, but we still got to work on this. So this is going to be our next area to tackle. Still want to try to polish this up some. I don't know if I will, though, because that's going to be mostly hidden. Look at these bolts. It's hard to tell, but man, they polished up. They look great. They look really good. Even clean the threads on them, too. Look at that. All for free. Well, I mean, unless you got to buy cleaner, steel wool, and maybe some polish. And honestly, you don't have to polish them. You could just steel wool them, but it makes a big freaking difference. Going around here, got the axle adjuster nuts on both sides. They look really, really, really good. Even got these nuts in here cleaned up. Inside here, that oil tank right there was just covered in gunk. Absolutely just filthy. I got all that cleaned up. And then I left this cardboard here on purpose. You can see there was a lot more stuff than that fell down, a lot more on the rag, but it was a mess. It was a mess. Over here, more clean bolts, nice and polished, looking good, and looking good. Calipers cleaned up. That is awesome. Reservoirs cleaned up, brake lines, oil lines. It's nice. And think about it. You can do the same thing with just some common household stuff. You can make it look nice and clean. Try to make it look new. I do believe those bolts are actually better than they are from the factory too. That looks great. Like I said, we're going to now move on to this section, so we're going to get right to this now, and hopefully we can get this looking just as good as that. Hopefully. All right, guys, so it has been a few days. We're going to get right to the cleaning here in just a second, but wanted to show you this. I'm having a little bit of an ADD moment here. We got our tank mocked up. Yes, we've got it stripped down and primered, thanks to a really good friend of mine that's helping us with that. But what we got is we got it lifted up this is about 2 inches, and all we do is just have some rags stuffed in there to hold it up. That's about what we want to lift it at. And look at that space. Look how much better that looks. Just monumentally better than that factory junk that was on there. And I do believe we're going to have no problems getting this wire. Of course, I've got to move a few things to get to it. To get this wire up on top of the backbone and then exiting out up here. I do not think there's going to be any problems with it because there is so much freaking space in here, which is super cool. So if you're on the fence about doing this, all you really need is a bracket to move your coil and your ignition, and then just start fighting the wires. That's all you got to do. I mean, yes, you got to undo the connectors and all that, but the connectors actually make it pretty easy to reroute everything. It's just they will be kind of tough to hide up there, but I do think there's enough space. So this is going to work very well and look a lot better. And for reference here, let's see if we can get this piece of garbage up here. This is what was on it. Look at that. I mean, there's just no comparison. And also to the right, you had the coil in the way. But I can't believe Harley put that garbage on there just to protect it. I think what they were doing is made it to where mechanics could get to the connectors very easy in this, but honestly, I would just rather remove the tank and get to it. You can just remove the front of the tank and lift it up. I don't know why they put that on there. Laziness, I suppose? I don't know. I don't know what it is, but that is going to look a lot better. But anyway, that will be in future videos to come. Let's get right back to cleaning. All right, so for cleaning, we're just going to keep doing what we were doing before. You can see here, you probably noticed this looks a little bit better. Did work on this a little bit off camera, and it didn't take a whole lot because this bike is in such good shape underneath all the grime. Even cleaned up this bolt. You can see we polished up this mount right here for the swing arm. And folks, I use the same methods for polishing this as the other bolts. So this is really, really easy stuff. Still need to get to this sprocket and the rest of the motor. So all we're going to do, same thing. We're just going to soak it some more. Not really concerned either about stuff getting down on here because quite frankly, we're going to go through this when we're all done and we're going to polish up this black. We're not done just yet. Go ahead and remove these if I can. Oh, don't drop it. That's good. Just lose it. Who needs it, right? I don't need an exhaust. We will clean these the same way. I'm just going to start breaking some of this up. It is a mess. If you can see down here, I don't know if it shows up on camera, like right here, this is part of the grime we haven't gotten to, and then this is the frame. That's how nasty that was. We'll get to the rest of that once we get this thing off the jack at the very end. I will be honest, this is not the most glamorous or fun part of this. These oil lines are still in good shape, which is good. I don't know so much about the clamps. Go ahead and hit that before we get to the sprocket. But heck, even just using the simple green makes it look better. But wait till you see it get polished. It'll be much better. Much, much better. Don't be shy. Of course, these will be chrome polished. All I do is use these brushes and these fins just to get the bulk of stuff. Want to be careful. Make sure you don't break any fins. That wouldn't be good. Back here on this sprocket again. So all I'm going to do is take some steel wool, see if this works. Well, this piece is about had it. I might need to get some fresh stuff. But this sprocket's going to be a really kind of cool, it's where your eyes are going to go. And yeah, it'll get dirty over time, but you can always clean it up. What I want to do is I want to polish it. What you're seeing is actual rust in the steel wool. Maybe I'll get another piece here in a second. We'll see how this does. Well, that looks like orange. It's crazy. Look at the difference, though. Oh, yeah. Looking good. And then what we'll do is we're going to polish up the edges of that. But I'm going to get another piece of steel wool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and clean half of this pretty good. I'm going to try to get all of it that I can. And we'll do a little comparison. So we cleaned up half of the sprocket really good. Actually ended up using a piece of a Scotch pad to get on it. Did a little bit better than the steel wool did. But we've got some polish on this. Let's see how this looks. Man, talk about better. I bet it doesn't show up good on camera, but that is just worlds better than where we were. It was covered in gunk. And the cool thing about this sprocket area right here is you can get aftermarket covers on this that have different designs and so forth. And I considered doing that, but again, we're trying to keep it budget, so I don't want to go and spend extra money that I don't need to. But when you get the chain on here and you get this on here and you get a cool cover that you can see through it, it'll take an area like this that originally just looked nasty and it almost becomes a showpiece. So pretty cool, pretty cool. Yeah, that looks much better. Just got to clean the bottom, but that is probably hard to see on the camera, but it is almost mirror polished in some areas. So that is outstanding. So we're going to do the rest of this, the half of it, and then we'll move on to some other parts of the motor. Well, this sprocket is now complete. Look at that. Just what a difference. I don't know if you can see the shine on the camera. It's there, I promise. We got our bolts all cleaned up too around that. And again, just using the same technique that we used on everything else. Now just wait till we get that polished up, how good that's going to look together. We're going to get this backbone real quick. Not really much to do here. This is just really for my OCD. I'm going to take these out. Clean these up on the workbench, and it'll help us get to these heads pretty good. Whoa, that's actually coming off all the way. So they didn't have, wow. Well, I guess I can just take this off. There are no fasteners holding this to the throttle body. Well, I did not know that. Good grief. Well, I guess it's all coming off now. And we got an old corroded gasket. I think I actually have a few of those gaskets, but check this out. There are literal mount holes for this, and the only thing holding this on was these two bolts. That is, I don't know if that's incredible or ridiculous, but that needs a new gasket. So, good to know, I guess. The good news with this is we can now clean everything up good. And back to our cleaning. So all we're going to do here, this motor is in pretty dang good shape as far as looks go. We're going to hit a few spots that you see with your eyes pretty good. And of course, with that being off now, we can get to all this. We'll clean up on this some a little bit too. Just go crazy with it. That's all I do. I don't know why there's some grass coming off or something. I don't know how grass got up here on the head. Much better. Why is there pieces of grass? Where is the grass falling from? What is this? Did this thing get wrecked in a field or something? I do think this is going to look really good when you get this polished up and then, and of course, just clean all this up. But, well, just having a new filter on there that actually looks good and doesn't spin will be a huge improvement. But again, so I got to polish these, or polish this, polish these, and then of course the push rod tubes. We'll get those with some chrome cleaner, chrome polish. That should look pretty good. But this thing, there was not a whole lot grime-wise to get off of it. This motor is in really good shape. Okay, so for these bolts right here that we just took off, you can see these are pretty, I don't know if it shows up, they're pretty rusted inside. That one's not as bad. Of course, we could replace these, but they'd be pretty expensive because these are I think they're like a banjo bolt for a brake fitting so that the oil can leak out. But unfortunately, these probably will rust again over time. All we're going to do, let's see if we can get to this just with the, it's getting there. Let's see if that's helping at all. I probably need to get something in here. These are pretty bad. That's better. That's better. It's probably hard to tell again on camera, but getting some of the rust out. So we're going to keep at this and get these back on, and then we're going to get on the other side of the motor. Well, not the other side of the motor. We're going to start getting towards the front end more. I'm not going to film the other side of the motor just because it's really more of the same, and plus this motor itself, that actually looks better. This motor itself is pretty darn clean. Well, I'm actually kind of glad that plate came off, or that intake plate came off, because it allowed me to really make this thing look good. You can see we got our bolts on there. Both of them are cleaned up. No more rust. Polished up. They're probably going to rust again, but that's okay. It can always be polished again. And I found some bolts here. These are actually for handlebar controls for like your clutch and your brake and all that. So we can use those, but I'd have to cut them. But I might get some other ones though, but I'm going to get that on there right. And even cleaned up in the throttle body some. It was not all that dirty. Got all around the sides of it. So great news. That actually worked out very well. So I'm happy with that. And again, glad it kind of fell off because I didn't know that was a problem. This front end is actually in really good shape. It just needs some stuff cleaned off of it, and then it'll all be polished up. Both triple trees will be polished up. We'll clean the tubes, everything. There's not really much to do here other than get the polish out. I still don't know what I'm going to do with them lower fork sliders yet. I need to research to see how people are stripping those down. I haven't figured out if I'm just going to polish them as is or try to strip them. So that might actually come later on in another video. I'm not sure yet. Not sure. So we got our top clamp, our handlebar clamp bolts all polished up. You can see here's a little difference. Check that out. So the one on the left obviously has been polished up, and the one on the right, it wasn't bad, but it just shows you can take, guys, these factory bolts and make them look really good, provided, of course, they're still in good shape. We got these already polished up, so they are all ready to go. We do have to work on the other one, of course, get it done, but this will be pretty much ready to go. One thing I do want to add is when you're doing this, get this started, when you're doing this, you can actually take a nylock nut and you can just put it in your vise. And once you do that, you just take the bolt, screw it down in there. The nylock itself, of course, will hold it to keep it from spinning. Then you've got something you can polish this up with and make it a little bit easier. But we're going to get this one polished up, and then this sucker right here will be ready for handlebars. I'm going to go ahead and take this forward control off right here. If you remember, I couldn't get this off. I do believe there is a snap ring behind here that I have to remove. I actually, believe it or not, looked some stuff up online. I'm going to see if I can break these loose. Oh yeah, that was nothing. Oh, that was loose. Like everything else. Kind of makes you wonder. Oh, that was nothing. goodness. If I can get this off all the way, my plan is to wire wheel this, and then we're just going to paint it. This chrome is disgusting. It's just flaking off. Check this out. So we do. I don't know if it shows up or not. Let's see if we can get it on camera. There it is. You can see the snap ring. There is a snap ring in there, so we can remove that. We're going to remove this disgusting stuff right here. You can see how this is all flaking off. So we'll just put that in the vise and wire wheel it later. If we can't get this thing off here real quick. And our Harbor Freight snap ring pliers, these are actually pretty new. Let's see if these things work like they're supposed to. If I can do this on camera. Or maybe I'll do it this way. There we go. That's better. Come on. There, look at that. It worked. There's a little, gosh, what is that? I don't even know what that is. Check this out. Is that, I mean, I know that didn't come on it, but what the heck is that? Did somebody just take some wire? Wow. Always amazing. So now we got this apart. Yes, so now we'll just put this in the vise. We will, like I said, I will wire wheel this thing to death, and then we'll just scuff it up and paint it. Should be good. And then, of course, with all this stuff being down and apart, we can clean it up real good. Okay, I think this should be the last thing we disconnect or remove on this bike. So this wire, I say that right, probably more things. This wire harness right here, the problem is where it's routing down, and I'll show you here in just a second when we disconnect it, needs to be flipped and go up over the backbone so we can run it underneath the tunnel of the gas tank, hopefully. Plus, by removing all this or disconnecting, it'll help us clean this backbone or these down tubes better. So we're just going to remove all these connectors. There's not that many. It's not that difficult to do. Just a lot of wires. That one was already a little loosened. One thing that was funny is I pulled this out. I don't know what this is. It was just shoved in there underneath the oil filter. I'm guessing this is so you can kind of take the connectors and, you know, put them in there all fancy and stuff. But again, zip ties, folks. Just zip tie them and stow them away and get this plastic junk off of here. It's just extra stuff you don't need. And this one was already removed on the other side. And then we got to get this oil filter, or excuse me, this oil pressure switch connector. There. Now, everything has been removed. And of course, now we can get to all this good. And where I'm going with this is, you can see here's the harness, right? And it kind of comes down. You can see it comes down up under the backbone. Is can we get all this through here? And I'm getting way ahead of myself here, but this is just a mock-up stage. So what'll have to happen then is this will have to go up under all this mount in order to reach. And I do believe, yes, I do believe it'll barely go. We might have a little bit of wires hanging down right here. That's fine. I can actually, you know, we'll loom all this together so it'll look good. Just because we don't have necessarily enough wire to reroute this up there. So it'll be kind of a stretch, but that'll allow us to get all this up here on top of the backbone, and this will all be hidden under the tank, which will leave this wide open. So cool, good news there. So now all we got to do is I'm going to clean the down tubes, or the front down tubes right here. Not going to bore you guys with that on camera. And then after that, we're going to start doing some polishing. And we are very close to kind of having this part of the bike cleaned up. And again, this side's going to be done off camera. And don't worry, we are going to get to the primary. We got to get to the primary cover, of course, and clean that up. But that'll probably come on a later video. But let's get to these down tubes. And after that, we'll start jumping into doing some polishing. So I'm going to get some polish on this frame as well as some other parts, like on the aluminum. For polish, guys, all I use for stuff like this, for just this frame, the cheapest. I got this stuff for like $9. It's at Walmart. Don't put anything high-end on this stuff. Save the good stuff for your paint. For chrome, I'm just going to use some regular old Turtle Wax chrome polish. And then for the aluminum, which you've seen, I like the Mother's Magan aluminum polish. And this stuff will really make a difference on these bikes. Of course, nothing fancy here. Just apply it. And if you do this, use an old clean, of course, like a t-shirt rag or something. Don't use your, if you got a nice applicator for your car or for your tins on your bike, I wouldn't use it on this because you're going to get dirt on it. It's going to happen. And then what I'll do when I'm done is I got spots like here from where the chain was hitting and some other few spots over there on those, what's left of those struts on the rear. Just touch them up. Just get some black touch up and go over it. You know, just make sure you use some alcohol or something on them first so the paint will actually stick. Because when you put this polish on there, it will not stick to it. So the big reveal here, I don't know how much of this is going to show up. Man, that looks a lot better. Looks good in person. I don't know how it is on camera. But we're not going for, folks, we're not going for a show bike here. All we're doing is we're just trying to bring out what we can, what was already there. Just make it look a little bit better. And it gives somebody something a little proud of to take down the road instead of something that was just literally falling apart. This area up here on the frame neck actually looks really good. It is in great shape. And you can actually, I think you can actually see that on camera. Hopefully. I don't know. Much better. Much better. These rocker boxes. So I did one of the rocker boxes. Done basically half the bike. That's what I've done. I don't know if this is going to show. Boy, it looks much better in person. That mother's aluminum polish. That's all you need. Now this aluminum, there are ways to polish this up. There are some experts out there that know how to actually bring this to almost like a mirror shine. That's not what I'm trying to do here. We're just trying to make it look respectful and presentable. We can get it back on the road since it's been off the road. And we got these push rod tubes with the chrome polish. These are easy to do. Oh yeah, they look much better. These push rod tubes are in outstanding shape. Usually you'll get these on older bikes. You'll have some spots of rust here and there, but these are great. Now this one does have some black spots on it still. And they could come off if I wanted to get a little buffing disc or something like that. But we're going to do the best we can with it, with what we got. So that's the point. That looks much freaking better. I'm kind of tempted to replace this. That looks pretty bad. I do need to get a little screw for that, but I don't know. I forgot about this. Some chrome polish on that. There. Just about done. So we got that polish off back there. Looks much better. You can see this rocker box right here. You can actually see my reflection in it. Cannot over there. So that shows you how much better that turned out. Push rod tubes, and of course half of the cam chest cover. You can see this side over here, as you can see me in it. Cleaned up nicely, and we'll get the rest of that. And then this frame neck area, look at that. And we're going to have that tank lifted up on top of that. That is going to look so much freaking better. Getting rid of all that dumb plastic and just opening that up. So we're going to get to the rest of the bike. We need to polish the other half of it and then get the rest of this motor and then also tackle this front end, and we will be officially done cleaning and polishing up this part of the bike. But when we're done doing all the polishing on just this, we'll do a little walk around and see how this whole thing looks when it's finally complete. Well, we have finished up the rest of the cleaning on both the frame and the engine. Just a little look here from a distance. Man, what a difference. This thing was so disgusting. There was an actual nice motorcycle underneath all that. We got all that done, which we've already seen pretty much. But up here, we got this other rocker box done. There is some pitting on it. That's fine, whatever. It's not, couldn't really get rid of that, but it looks much better than it was. Cam cover. And then down here on the motor, on the, I guess you'll call it the satiny gray paint, turned out very nice. Actually cleaned up better than I thought it would. And I think with this being a low mileage bike, it definitely helps, that's for sure. Triple trees up here look great, as well as the riser clamps, of course. Not much really to do there. Guys, that's just regular polishing. But if you put the time into it. One thing I did do, I'll show you real quick. is even removed our little pinch bolts here. Remove those. It allows you to get underneath them as well as polish up the bolts. I removed the risers as well, just to really get it as good as possible. Over here, nothing groundbreaking, just the other side of the rocker boxes. You can see how they're mirror shined. They look nice. And then just the rest of the frame. But this thing has come, I'm actually pretty impressed with how far it's come with cleaning up. It is looking mighty nice. So we are going to wrap this video up here, but now the question is, where do we go from here? So we've got to get this done, of course, this giant eyesore. I cannot wait to see how this looks when it's complete. Only reason I've held off is because we do have to pop this cover off in order to replace the gaskets. And while we pull these bolts out, then we can get underneath those. But this, I think this is going to clean up. The goal is to get this looking as good as those rocker boxes. I hope. I don't know, but anything's going to look better than that. Also, we got to get the rear wheel, front wheel. Got to get these fork sliders on the sliders. I'm just not sure what I'm going to do on those. I'm just going to research the best way to just strip these down. I'm thinking it's just going to be a complete strip down and polish. I know that there's a lot of folks that do that, so I'll look into that and see what we got to do. And then we got a lot of other parts, right? We got all kinds of other parts and odds and ends that we need to clean up. And from there, we're going to start getting it back together, hopefully. But it's not going back together the way it was. We've got to do some tank liftage, reroute all this mess of wiring, loom all that up. We've got to get all this relocated here for the coil and ignition, which shouldn't be a problem. And then even getting our side mount tag, which I think will look pretty cool. So this bike is coming along nicely. And I really, really, really think it's going to clean up much better than I thought. That is for sure. But good little project. And I think all in, we're going to be about, including, well, not including the purchase of the bike, I think we're going to be putting about $500 to $600 into it. That includes new rear tire and battery, by the way. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. Well, guys, as I said, we're going to wrap up right here. I'm really digging how this bike is turning out. It's actually surprising me a little bit. There is a nice bike underneath all this grime, as I said earlier, but we got more content to come, so don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for future videos. Also, going to put a link below to our No Rules Live page, so you can go check that out. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll chat with you next time.